Hello, and welcome to Happy Horror Time Podcast. I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert, and today's special guest is truly a close friend and supporter of Happy Horror Time. We first connected with him back in 2020 after releasing our very first interview with Friday the 13th, the final chapter star Kimberly Beck, and we immediately bonded over our mutual love of all things horror. Well, he just released a new Friday the 13th tribute film called Victim No More. And not only were we really impressed by it and how well it ties back to the original series, but it features appearances from some horror stars that fans will definitely recognize. Please welcome to the podcast the writer, director, and producer of Victim No More, Bob Heckman.
Thank you, guys. It's great to be on here. And I just recently changed my name to Gary Busey.
Oh,
I hope
yes, that's great.
Problems.
I think that goes really well. It goes really well for your image, you know. I think.
Okay, good.
Been in the news lately.
And Jake Busey starring in some like new horror movie, some crazy Canadian horror movie.
Well,
just saying that. But
crazy families.
Yes, exactly. Well, look, first off, we just want to say, and we want to really be serious about this. We just really want to congratulate you on completing this film because since we've been in touch, like we know how dedicated you've been to it over the last few years, and just not only to just see it through during the pandemic, but like for the final result to turn out so good is just really admirable. So congratulations. We know people are going to love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been getting amazing responses. Like last Saturday when I premiered it at this little convention, Creature Feature Weekend in Pennsylvania, Gettysburg. I had no idea what the reaction would be. I was hoping for the best. I was pretty confident that some fans will like it, because I just, you tap into like what some fans, what would you think they would like to see and everything. And you just know, like, I could sense some smiling going on in the audience. And, I looked around, I was just like, all right, I think they like. I mean, first off, it was terrifying because it was like on an IMAX type screen. It was huge. Wow. I was like, oh my God, my little movie is up on the biggest screen ever. This is terrifying. What's it going to look like? Is the audio going to work? Is it going to crap out? Is it going to just skip 4 scenes for no reason? Like is it going to play upside down? I was like terrified.
Oh, wow.
But none of those things happened, right?
No, none of it happened. And my friend Chris was sitting to the left of me, and Kimberly Beck was sitting to the right.
I saw that.
Yes,
that's cool.
Saw on the
yeah, so it's exactly what I wanted, and what I kept saying the last few weeks before then. I was like, all right, I just want Kim on one side, my friend Chris Seaver on the other, who's a massive Friday 13th fan, and Kimberly Beck's his favorite final girl too. So it was so like surreal. So like as soon as like the disclaimer came up on the screen, I was like, all right, I'm waiting for the music to kick in. And then once it kicked in and the sound sounded great, it's in 4K, it sounds great. I'm like, okay, here we go.
So you're able to relax then and watch?
I was able to relax, and every like 5 minutes or so, Kimberly kept leaning over and say, this is great, Bobby, this is great.
Oh.
And she got a little choked up.
Obviously, you're a huge horror nerd like us, so we did want to know, like, when did your love of horror just in general begin? Like, how old were you, and was there a specific film that did it for you?
Oh, my God. I would have to say I must have been around 6 years old. I saw Night of the Living Dead.
The black and white one.
The black and white one, because that was just ran on every, like, station because it was public domain, so it just kept popping up. And I remember it was one of the first, like, videotapes I had, because they were always like $5 at the supermarket,
Yeah.
So I saw that. But I might have seen Halloween before that, and then
No one likes that movie.
The best horror movie of all time. Yes, of course.
Never heard of it. So I saw it on TV when it first aired on TV. So it was like 1981. So I was 6 years old. I just love the atmosphere and like how it played out, and there was something intriguing about this. And my friend Tommy and I, that I grew up with,
Tommy Doyle,
obviously, and Tommy Jarvis, and we kind of discovered my mom and his mom were best friends, and we just like grew up together, and we kind of like discovered Friday 13th and Halloween's and all the popular horror movies at the time. We just kept like going to the video store, renting as much as we could rent. But yeah, I started discovering Halloween, Friday 13th, and just I think I saw Friday 13th Part 2 and 3 first.
In the theater?
No, God, no. No, the first one I saw in the theater was like Part 7.
Same here.
The first horror movies I saw were in 1987, 88, when I was like 12. So I really fell in love quickly with that and learning about special effects and Tom Savini and everything. Like Fangoria magazine. As soon as I saw Fangoria magazine on the shelf, I immediately wanted it and just flipping through, reading all the articles.
Well, out of all the Friday 13th films, what are your top 3?
Yeah, we're putting you on the spot.
You want to guess? You want to guess first?
I'm going to say 2, 3, 4.
Close.
Wait. I want to guess. I'm going to say 2, 4, 6.
Yes.
Wow.
I knew 2 and 4 because it's obvious how much you love, Amy Steele and Kimberly Beck. And then I took a guess that maybe 6 because
6 is a great movie.
It's a great movie, and I'll get into it when we talk about your film and references.
If references to your film, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking.
Yeah, but that wasn't really the reason. 6 was definitely my favorite growing up.
Oh.
Like
Wait,
it was my favorite growing up until like maybe my early 20s. And then I was like, you know what? Final chapters.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's it. That's it, Tim.
Tim, your 3 favorites are 1, 3, and 4, right?
I love them all. Well,
of course.
Jason X and Freddy versus Jason's questionable.
But your top
film.
3. Top 3.
That sounds
1, 3, and 4. Yeah, I've known Tim long enough. Bobby, we also know that you manage certain horror stars like Kimberly Beck, right? Like, how did that all start?
Well, first off, I actually just gave up the managing thing this past weekend.
Oh wow.
Okay.
The same weekend I premiered, I gave it up. Not because of anything. Like I'm just so busy doing other things and promoting my own film and work and everything. I'm just like, you know what? I don't really have time to like book my buddies. And that's the thing. I would only want to book my friends like Jill Whitlow and Kimberly Beck at shows. But I really wanted to make sure they were with people that I'm friends with, I'm great friends with, and that they're comfortable, and I still get to go to every show and work with them, and I just want to hang out with them, They're such great, dear friends that I'm like, I'd rather not be on any kind of business end of it. But yes, I got into it. Like, I met all of them, like Kimberly, Amy. Well, I should say I became friends with them. Catherine, Jill, Kim, and Amy, all a little over 10 years ago. And we just hit it off at the conventions, and we just stayed in touch, and we just became closer and closer as the years go on. I mean, like, if they lived on Long Island, New York, we would be hanging out all the time. But of course, they got busy lives and everything. But whenever I'm in their area or they're in my area, or there's a reason to. I mean, Catherine's here in New York.
Yeah, this is a nice group of ladies to have on your side. Good friends.
But they kick ass too, and they're hilarious.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we've gotten a chance, luckily, to interview them, and they're sweet and hilarious and great stories. And well, congratulations on moving on from that, I guess. Or I don't know. What do you say to someone when they move? Like,
it's the final chapter, a new beginning.
Well, I mean, it was a plan for a couple of months that would happen this weekend. So I was like, everything that I wanted to happen happened last weekend. It was, I'm not even lying, it's one of the best weekends of my life. To get to screen the movie, to have the weight lifted off my shoulders for the response from it, and just like 2 years in the making of this movie. And it's like, I mean, since the beginning of the year, I was like, get me to September 1st. Just get me to September 1st so I could breathe.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Then moving on to the movie Victim No More, which, by the way, I just want to let our listeners know it's now available to watch for free on both YouTube and Vimeo. And don't worry, we're going to post direct links to watch it with this episode. But can you kind of just take us through how the project came to be, just from the initial idea to when you started filming, and just kind of, how it all happened?
Well, I mean, it really all starts with back in 2019, I was thinking I want to make a film. It wasn't a Friday the 13th film. I wanted to make a horror anthology film, like a creep show, Tales from the Dark Side movie type thing. But then after I saw Never Hike Alone, I was like, man, I mean, this is really well done. This is great quality. I see potential in, with the people that I'm friends with. It's like, and my passion for Friday the 13th, it being my favorite horror franchise.
I hear you.
I know. Like, I'm like, maybe I should try and do a fan film instead.
You want Jason, I get it.
We all want Jason. We all want Jason. And, being a fan who's just like missed the franchise and we just want more to come out. It's just like, you know what? Let me put my spin on things. So I started thinking, I'm like, well, what's some of the things that as a fan I would like to see? Obviously, I'd like fans for the last 30 years, like, man, if all the final girls can come back and kick his ass, that's every fan's dream movie to have. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, how would you explain the plot to someone who's never, like, if my mom sat down and was like, hey, what's the plot of Victim No More? How would you explain that to someone who's never experienced a Friday the 13th film?
Well, it's funny because just 2 days ago, I was at my uncle and aunt's house who's never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies, but they really wanted to watch this movie.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, well, catch us up on this franchise. So I started from part one. I kind of like went through it in a very like funny way and how like ridiculous, and after like part 8, I was like, well, and then like a different company picked up the franchise. And then it was like the Adventures of Jason Voorhees. He's body jumping. He's going to space. He's fighting Freddy, they didn't care much about continuity after that. So I kind of like caught them up with that. And then I kind of explained the story as, well, it's centered around a very naive young man who feels like he feels very trapped in his own life because of his overprotective mom. And it's very simplistic. He's a young man. He's very naive. He's going to therapy. He thinks he can like help fix his mom's past, her traumatic past, by like proving to her that Jason Voorhees is dead and gone and no longer exists. So like he can be more free. It's a little selfish. It's a little like, hey, mom, like, look, he's not around anymore. Can I be, take me out from under your wing and like, let me be free. And so I don't have anxiety and panic attacks anymore and everything. And it's interesting writing a naive character like this, because it's like people might either love or hate him because, even the therapist is kind of like, are you sure you want to do that? It's not really like how this works. Your mom's trauma, she has to deal with all the time. And she says that, but like, just showing that the world is safe in this area doesn't fix anything. It's kind of like, so a lot of people are going to get the impression when they watch it, they're going to be like, man, this kid's stupid.
I thought it was a great scene opening with Joe Whitlow in this office.
Yeah. And also, I mean, everyone who listens to our podcast knows we spoil things and we are going to spoil this, but the film's main protagonist, Robbie, this boy, you find out later is the son of Kimberly Beck's character from the final chapter, Trish Jarvis, which is just such an awesome tie-in. And I was just wondering, like, what made you decide of all the final girls, like, to have the son or your main protagonist be her son? I mean, obviously, Kimberly Beck. Was that the reason? Is she your favorite final girl? Are you even allowed to admit that?
That wasn't the reason. It was kind of the reason where like that family, the Jarvis family, suffered. I feel like, it's just more than one person that went through it. It's also Tommy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this family. I mean, if like your mom and your uncle went through this horrible stuff, like I can't imagine how screwy that family would be. Tommy was in and out of like, halfway houses and like, other things. So, so I kind of chose it like that. But I also, because I wrote in the script, because the first scene was one of the first scenes I wrote, the therapy session. And I was trying to keep it a secret up until the very end. So, but he says my family. And I'm like, well, the Jarvis family is the only family that this kind of happened to.
No, that's a good point. I didn't think about it this way because a lot of the final girls per se, it didn't affect them and a relative. Maybe it was a final girl and her boyfriend or something, but there was never that brother sister connection that makes a lot of sense. And just for people listening, from the very beginning, this film has so many Easter eggs
Yes.
and we noticed all of them, of course.
The one, I mean, off the top of my head, the beginning credits were the same credits as they use in Friday 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, the production credits, and then the opening credits.
It's called the Broadway font.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then your actual opening credits, I think, were the music and the credits were from the final chapter, right? We were talking about it looked like
the
that.
Music was fantastic.
It looked like that. So there were all these Easter eggs, and then and trust me, we noticed all of these things. We also noticed that Robbie's car, the license plate, is GNY-7246. Now we know obviously the GNY is a Ginny from Ginny Field from Part 2, but was the number, did that mean anything? 746?
Honestly, I didn't even realize the Ginny thing.
Wait,
did
what?
not realize the Ginny thing.
Oh,
no,
wow.
I'm amazed that you guys picked up on the license plate thing, because after my 10th time watching it, I was like, that's my actual car.
Wait, we thought
That's
for
crazy.
Sure
I was like, oh wow, how detailed.
No, that's my car and that's my license plate.
Wait. Okay, Bobby, we have to say when you're watching this film, when you first present Robbie, because he's blonde and he says his mother went through this, we thought, oh my God, is this Ginny Field's son? And
oh my God, it's great.
And then he drives and his license plate says GNY. And we're like, well, it's Amy Steele's son. And then his phone gets the phone call from mom and it's Kimberly Beck. And we're like, oh, wow, he just had a tie-in, but it's your real license plate.
It's my real license plate. I don't know if somebody could steal that. It's not like a phone number. So it's like, I don't know what people do with license plates when they pop up in movies. I didn't notice the GNY part, but if you look at the numbers, it's kind of like the Friday 13th movies that I reference the most.
Yeah, I thought that
which
too.
is 7, 4, 6, and 2.
Okay.
And 3 of those are my top 3. Like, it's complete coincidence. I'll tell you another big coincidence too, that I did not write into the script.
Oh.
I didn't realize it until like days later after we shot a particular scene. But there's the couple, the boyfriend and girlfriend. They're talking about getting a house and a porch, and wraparound porch is optional. She's going on about porches.
Yeah.
She dies on a porch.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even put that together either.
I didn't realize it until a couple days later. I should probably take credit. Like, oh yeah, I was foreshadowing, but like it was just dumb luck that happened.
Well, I mean, that brings us to another question, because the kills and effects in this film are really well done. And I'm assuming, you didn't have a humongous budget or anything. So like actually, if you don't even mind me asking, what was the budget for this film, if you don't mind saying?
In the end, it came around 28,000. Like I thought 14,000 was going to be like enough. No.
Which effect was the most took the most time and effort?
The Jason suit was the most.
It looked great.
Yeah, I know. No, it really did. I mean, because that's the thing. Like a lot of fan films, because budgets are small, you don't have the money to do these really incredible effects. But like the kills that you had looked really good. Like they really were convincing and they looked good. And another thing we really loved about this, and
they weren't like too over. You know what? The Friday 13th movies back in the 80s, they were like. Yeah, they were quick and they were edited down by the MPAA and stuff. And it's like, well, let's edit. Like there was blood squirting out. It's like, let's cut it like they would have cut us back in the 80s,
Nice. Well, another thing that fans obviously of the series are going to notice and love is that when you do have Jason come out of the water, he decides to cover his face with the potato sack versus the hockey mask, which was great. It was a great scene that like he has both at his disposal and he chooses the potato sack. And just wondering, any reason for that decision? Did you think that was a scarier look for him?
Well, at the time, originally Amy was going to be the one with the big shotgun at the end,
so Amy Steele.
Amy Steele is going to play that role that Catherine does, because And I thought, what would be great if it like came back full circle to part two, where he's been around forever. He's all bones. And it's like, well, it'd be great if we went back to part two and put on the sack. And then they have this face off with Ginny Field. Hence also the Ginny Field quote in the beginning of the movie. It's kind of that, but also kind of like, what can I do that's different than every other fan film doing another Jason movie?
A lot of fan films do use, they use the hockey mask. And just out of curiosity, where was it filmed? There was cabins and everything, but we recognize some of the locations. So which ones were?
Yeah, some are from the original film we recognize, but like the cabins, are they anything from any of the films, or were those just random cabins?
They're an undisclosed location.
Oh, they are.
We're not gonna tell. We won't tell.
If you read this credits, it says undisclosed location.
Oh my God, you can't give us a hint.
No, they're actually filmed here on Long Island in Riverhead, New York. It used to be an old Boy Scout camp that was shut down many years ago.
And it was shut down because of murders, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny,
camping.
Catherine Mary Stewart, she was out there with us while we were shooting the whole thing. She didn't need to be there at all. We weren't shooting any of her scenes there or anything, or one scene. But she just wanted to get to know the cast and crew, so she came out and she like camped out with us in the counselor house that we rented as an Airbnb that was like right next to this dilapidated camp. And
did you do a private screening of Night of the Comet with her?
No, well, we threw in Weekend at Bernie's.
No, we watched Weekend.
Oh, you did?
Fun.
Yeah. We had the Friday 13th documentary playing, for a couple of days, and we threw in Weekend at Bernie's to just, embarrass her. Well, like, she was just walking around just like, you couldn't build a better set than this. This is amazing. And I mean, we could have shot the entire movie there, because it was just so awesome. But I really wanted to use the cabins as like background to the characters.
And since you've mentioned them, I mean, we're gonna bring them up because it's so important. But the people who you've mentioned who are horror stars who did appear in this film, like the first being Jill Whitlow from Night of the Creeps, who was the therapist. But what we love the most, and people who know Night of the Creeps will realize, is that she's playing her character from Night of the Creeps because her name is Cynthia Romero. So I'm assuming she married what's his name? Chris? Is it Chris in
Chris Romero? Jason Lively's character.
Exactly, Jason Lively's character, because so she's a therapist, which is great. And there's the scene in the end credits where she mentions her flamethrower, which I mean, I don't even have to ask you why you did that. It's because it's so iconic to her character.
It's iconic. It's funny. I'm a big Marvel fan, so I love when they have the post-credit sequence, and it's usually something a little funny. But Night of the Creeps is one of my top 5 favorite movies.
It's a great film. So. I agree.
Oh, that's awesome. And she's just so funny. And for anybody who doesn't recognize her, if you don't recognize her face, you'll definitely recognize her voice. She has one of those voices that you can hear and just recognize in a second. And I love it.
It's very high and squeaky.
It's so adorable. But like the other person you just mentioned who has a role in the film, Catherine Mary Stewart, obviously from Weekend at Bernie's and Night of the Comet. And we were just wondering, because she's playing Megan Jarvis, who was an established character from part 6. And what made you decide to have her, I guess, take over an existing role versus like playing someone new?
So I really wanted Amy to do that role, to really because she's my favorite final girl. She's many people's favorite final girl.
Cover your ears, Kimberly Beck. Cover your ears.
She knows. I've told her. I'm like, well, she's like, am I your favorite final girl? I'm like, well, you're my second. You're in my top 2. I'm like, but it's like amazing to have Amy and Kim, my top 2 girls, as my friends,
Yeah.
So Amy is who I originally wanted to play the role. Well, the pandemic happened right when things were going into pre-production. Pandemic happened, that I decided to postpone everything a full year because we had no idea how long this was going to be or what was going to happen. The world was on hold. So after about 10 months or something, at the end of 2020, it's time to start pre-production again. I asked Amy about the role and doing it again and everything, and she was still like very, very like cautious about flying, and she hadn't gone anywhere. She didn't, you know, and she just told me basically that she just didn't have it in her anymore, you know, to like do that. And she was, and then, you know, when we got to hang out and really talk about it, she's like, I just don't want to be in front of the camera again. She's like, I just don't have it in me anymore. I'm like, you'd have to pay me $1 million.
Oh,
but you never know. You know, you never know. You never know. You know, it could just be like the times that we live in right now. She might change her mind in a couple of years and you know, do something. I mean, she's so good, and you know, all the actors are so good. You know, like once you have it, you got it. You don't lose it, right, Tim?
That's right.
Well, so
you never lost it.
Well, he's lost it.
I mean,
no, well, I was gonna say, but well, I mean, and again, for people who haven't seen this, you did at least, which was awesome, get a voiceover from Amy Steele in this.
Oh yeah. I asked him. I said, would you at least do the voiceover? I think originally the narration at the end was going to be Kim, so I moved it to Amy, and then I'm like, well, then let me turn the Ginny character that was supposed to show up at the end to Megan and have that played by Catherine Mary Stewart. Originally, Tim, you'll love this. Originally, Catherine Mary Stewart was going to play Mary Jo Conrad.
Oh, from part 3 with Paul Krupka.
From part 3, yes.
I thought you were going to say originally we cast Dana Kimmel.
Yeah.
But did you ever who played Megan in part 6? Jennifer Cook.
Jennifer
I take
Cook.
It you never considered asking her, or just you hadn't seen her.
She kind of vanished. You know, she left acting after Jason Lives and got married to like a millionaire. Was part of that company. I think she kind of like is embarrassed by her career or keeps it hidden or something. There's something weird going on there.
Jason Lives is nothing to be ashamed of.
No, definitely not.
But you have Captain Mary Stewart playing hers, and she also played your second unit director.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yes, I figured out like all the Final Girls, like fans who know about, you know, the lives of the actors after that, you know, their roles. Like I figured like, well, Megan's, it's understandable to replace that character with another actor because it's like all fans know that actress never worked again. So it's like, I feel like it's okay to replace her with somebody else and somebody that's Catherine Mary Stewart, like somebody who's got like, you know, great work behind her and in front of her. I hope she never stops acting. So I'm like, well, it's okay to replace her if we upgrade. You know?
No. I mean, she's a great star who's known for genre films and things like that. And you also got Kimberly Beck to do a voiceover, which was very nice and, like you said, a little bit poignant as the mom leaving like a voice message for Robbie. And I was just wondering, did you ever think to ask Kimberly to do like a role in front of the camera? Yeah,
she's another one that's kind of like along the lines of Amy, I think, where it's just like, she just kind of she doesn't want to be in front of the camera. She'd rather do like behind the scenes stuff, you know. I know you guys had asked her, like when you did your podcast a while ago, your interview a while ago with her, and she's like, well, you know, you give me a few months to like work out. She said something along the lines of that.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of begged her, like, would you ever do another one? And because she talked about what you were saying about like how cool it would be if a bunch of the Final Girls were in it with their children. And it's like, I think it'd be kind of you know, I still, maybe I'm crazy, but I still have hope that there's a chance that some of these people who've been resistant
these movies that we love are like pushing 40 years old.
But they just keep getting more and more popular. It's unbelievable, you know,
especially when there's been a 13-year gap.
Yeah. And I'm just, you know, these people, and I think people like Kim Beck, I know she doesn't do conventions all the time, but the ones she does, it seems like she really enjoys it and sees just how incredible the love is for her and her character and everything.
It's a love.
She is blown away every single time. I've been with her every single time she's done a convention, and she doesn't think anybody's going to show up to want her autograph. And then there's a line, and that line just gets bigger. She'll sit there and talk to every single fan to make sure like their $40 was worth it. You know, she's super sweet to every single person. She loves talking to people. And you should have seen her when like people had multiple things to get signed, and they're handing over like $120 or whatever. She's like, no,
Uh,
like she just couldn't believe like people were. I'm like, this is their hobby. This is what we love to do. We like to get signatures and talk to the celebrities.
I wanted to ask you about, when you do in this big climactic ending, because you have Megan Jarvis, played by Catherine Mary Stewart, who comes in, rescues her nephew Robbie, and she brings a group of these women who I'm assuming were related to survivors of Jason Voorhees. Are they all supposed to be related to survivors?
They all have a backstory. They all have something that happened to them. They all met as part of the support group. They all maybe protect each other's families. It's left to your imagination. I know where some of the girls come from, just because I just like to make up my own origins for them.
We did notice one of them was named Amanda Shepard, so we're assuming that maybe was like Tina's daughter, who she named after her mom, who was killed.
Absolutely. I imagine that's the same kind of thing with Robbie, the main character. Like, I imagine Trish, in honor of Rob Dyer, who died in part 4, like, he's like, I'm going to name my son after him,
Yeah. No, these are all great Easter eggs that we absolutely loved. And of course, we notice, and I think a lot of, first off, the people who are going to really love this film are anybody who loves this series, because it stays so true to all of these movies and has so many Easter eggs. I mean, they call it fan service for a reason.
Any horror fan would love it.
I try to do fan service. I feel like not where it's like so much on the nose, or like the same characters are saying the same things, or like, like I try to keep it just fan service that's not in your face, where it's like you recognize the Higgins Farm sign on the fence.
Tim's favorite.
That's cool.
Yes. So it's kind of like, it's not Higgins Haven, it's Higgins Farm. So it's kind of just saying, it's just putting it out there that like, yo, this family still lives around this town. Mm-hmm. The Higgins family is just thriving in this town. It's just it's around their home.
No, it's great. You mentioned,
and one of the women at the end I named Higgins.
Okay.
So yeah, if you notice that, I mean, it's up to you which one you want, which one you think is Higgins. But
the one with the bow and arrow,
right?
No, it's not that. It's not that one. That's Diana.
Oh, got it.
But Higgins, it's kind of up again. It's up to the fans whether or not Higgins is actually Chris Higgins, just older. I mean, there's a woman there with an axe on her shoulder, and she's wearing similar color clothes that Chris Higgins wore in part 3.
Oh, okay.
She's wearing sunglasses.
I like the leaving the kind of up for interpretation. But what I was going to say is that you had mentioned that, you had it premiered just last weekend on the 28th, and then you made it available online. So does that mean no more film festival screenings, or what's next for Victim No More?
I don't know, honestly, because I could not think past the screening. I like, people kept asking me, oh, you're going to put in film festivals and you're going to come to this convention, that convention. I'm like, I can't think past September 1st, today's date. Like I'm just, I don't know. I have no idea. I know I'm going to like promote it at more conventions, but I haven't entered it in anything. And I feel weird entering tribute film, fan films, like into film festivals, because they're not original stories or like.
But it's still an original piece of work.
Yeah, it is an original piece of work. And truthfully, even if you don't do film festivals, I think this would do so well at conventions, just to have screenings and have a packed audience of horror fans watching it together. Like, we were so jealous that we couldn't be at the premiere, partly because we know you and we wanted to support you.
I would have loved to have you guys there.
Yeah, we would have
definitely been hanging all weekend.
I mean, we would have loved to be there, but like, I know for like these Monster Paloozas in LA, we're in LA, like people would love to see this in like a theater at a convention. So,
oh my God, thank you so much. It was overwhelming, the response afterward. Everybody applauded at the end. Then they laughed at the Joe Whitlow flamethrower scene. which is great.
Yeah.
I think that got a laugh, and the turtle dunking his head, with the music cue. Like, I'm like, I knew everybody would laugh at that.
Were there like gasps when the phone rang and Kimberly Beck's face showed up, like when people recognize, oh, Robbie is her son?
No,
or do you think people knew from the beginning?
No, they were just like, I could almost just hear their smile. They were quiet, but I could sense that there were fans smiling.
She's got a very distingued voice,
and she was there, so they're probably like,
and she was, and I kind of embarrassed her, but when the lights went up and we got up, I was like, let's hear it for Kimberly Beck's voice.
She's right here, everybody. She's right here.
I love that.
There was, everybody applauded at that. But going back to the final girl scene, I just feel like that's something that fans just really like wish for. A lot of fans, anyway. It was like the closest thing I feel like we're gonna get to something like that, because if they do, unfortunately, Tim, Matt, I know as diehard Friday 13th fans, we would love to see them reference anything from the old films.
Of course.
But it's 13 years. It might be another year or two. Wherever the rights go, they're going to remake it again. And that's just how it's going to go. It's another generation past, and they have to reintroduce everything again. So I don't think they're going to unless somebody like us has some kind of control over it.
I definitely see what you're saying. I will say, though, that like the whole idea of recall, I'm sure you saw the latest Scream, like where you can bring some legacy characters back while introducing a new storyline and new characters. It seems to be sort of a winning formula. So like maybe the movie couldn't just be about the old final girls like we would want, but they could bring one in, like Jamie Lee Curtis in the Halloween movies, while continuing the storyline with other people. So, who knows? Like, I mean, I feel like with David Gordon Green doing that now, he's taking on Exorcist. I mean, who knows what they'll do with Friday the 13th,
and they could do it in a way kind of like how I tried to kind of do it, is where like they don't have to dismiss any of the films. They just don't have to mention what happens in those films. They could just have, hey, Jason's coming back. These people are messing around in his area, and he came back. And maybe there's a reason for him to come back. I mean, that's one thing that I didn't do with my films, like have a, electricity, like strike him or something like that for him to come back. It was just like, you know what? It's his birthday. He wants to celebrate his birthday.
Yeah.
It's June 13th,
I know that you mentioned on, September 1st, you're just trying to grasp the weekend that you just experienced, but what's on the horizon for you? Like, what's next for you?
Yeah. Do you have any other projects you've been thinking about that maybe you're like, okay, now Victim No More is done, and now I want to focus
No More 2, the sequel.
Yeah. Or is it like, are we way too early to even ask that?
No, you're absolutely fine for asking that. I keep thinking of making a sequel to Victim No More. The views would have to hit on YouTube 100,000 views for me to like kind of, and the positive feedback would still have to like kind of be there at 100,000 views, and hopefully it could surpass that. If it's still picking up, I mean, I have to get online and promote it more and everything in the next year and see where it's at in a year. I'm definitely taking a year off, but I really want to make like a trilogy of these movies. And then that would be it for Friday 13th for sure.
Wait, would you call it More Victim No More? Sorry.
Everybody keeps making these jokes. My friends and I keep making these jokes. Yeah. 2 Victim, 2 More,
Oh, I like that.
Wait, why not mine, Tim?
I like his
Victims better. No More.
More of victims.
Oh, no.
No more victims.
No more victims.
More victims.
Or just say, oh, no.
Again.
Victim no more. Again.
Never hike with victims,
Yeah.
Victims in the snow.
No, I think that's cool. One thing we did realize is that there's totally more story that you could tell in this. I mean, you've left it in a way where there could be definitely more story, more characters.
I mean, without a doubt, I would answer those unanswered questions from this movie. I would basically, if I'm going to do a second one, it would be the backstories of some of the final girls at the end. It would be an anthology of telling those women's stories. You know, like maybe like 4 of them, and we kind of see how they all connected. I call them the Survivor Squad.
So that's a title right there.
Yeah. Well, that was the original title. I was going to call it Survivor Squad, Victim No More 2. Now I have this title in my head called Loose Ends, Victim No More 2. So it would kind of like
tie up those loose ends.
Tie up those loose ends, exactly. But it would also show you the aftermath of the battle that we don't get to see.
Yeah, and I think it's good you kept it like that, because at first I was like, okay, well, they're gonna massacre Jason, he's done. But like, you did it well, where it was like, well, you don't see him fully massacred, so you know he can always come back.
The door's open.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like that thing where it's like, well, again, leaving it to the fans' imagination. I'm like, yo, maybe Jason gets to that machete and takes down 1 or 2 or a few of them, or you know, hey, girl power. They turn him to ash, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and originally the lines that Amy Steele narrates was different. It was about how the fight against evil will go on forever, but as long as there's people to stand up against adversity, you know, evil can never win. It was kind of like along those lines. So it's basically saying like this battle against Jason and, you know, final people goes on forever. You know, it's just the good versus evil tale that goes on forever. But, you know, we need to fight up against it, you know?
Yeah. No, I think
can't let it win.
There's a good message with it. I mean, obviously if you want to get really deep, I mean, you can try to be, you know, it's important not to be a victim in your life and to fight against that. So it's like, you know, don't you think Friday the 13th can apply to all aspects of life, Tim?
I've been a fan for 4 years.
I mean, it really does. No, but it is. I think it's really
the greatest soap opera ever told.
I
Tim.
agree 110%.
Other than Halloween. Well, I do want to ask you, Bobby, our final question that we ask everyone we interview, and it's going to be a little different.
I hate when you come to the final question, because that means like the interview's over, and I just want to talk for like 3 more hours.
Oh, we can talk offline.
No,
forever,
I'll come back. We got to do a different type of show where we just like geek out about something.
Oh my God,
Family Ties. I agree.
No, I mean that's kind of what
Family Ties, my favorite sitcom.
That's kind of what Tim and I do every week.
Yeah.
Well, because what we usually ask everyone, as you know, is
we do, baby.
Oh my God. Okay, Bobby's showing us a ton of Family Tie books. Wow.
Those aren't books, those are the DVDs.
Oh, well, I have no idea. I did not watch Family Ties.
Well, you should.
Oh my God,
Bobby
Tim,
are cool.
come on.
Well,
make him watch Family Ties.
I showed him the one where Tom Hanks smacks Michael J. Fox.
That was funny because Tom Hanks hit Michael J. Fox, and you know,
I mean, it's not as good as Hollywood Wives,
starring Catherine
Mary Stewart.
Oh my God.
She's awesome.
No idea what that is. Well, what I was going to say, Bobby, is that like we always ask everyone, what is one thing you can tell us about your experience working on the film that you've never told any other interviewer, publication, podcast, or convention? But, you know, you just released this film and you're just starting to talk about it. So I guess instead, tell us one thing that you probably wouldn't bring up or that you've never been asked or something, just something really crazy about working on this film that people don't know.
It's funny. I should have really prepared for this because I listened to like every episode you guys put out.
Funny. Do you know how many people we interview and they're like, oh, I've listened to so many of your interviews. And then when we ask them our final question, which we ask every time, it's like they've never heard it. And Tim and I are like, we asked that.
That's ridiculous. That I totally should have prepared for this. I'm like, and he always asks, was there a red carpet premiere?
Oh, yeah, we have our usuals, but like,
what do your kids think about the movies that you were in?
Yeah.
We usually ask about male nudity, but you had none, which we were very disappointed.
Yeah, nudity.
We were disappointed.
That was another thing too that I feel like. Well, I mean, all the fan films. I mean, a lot of fans. Oh, I didn't get to show you guys this. Trish Jarvis part.
Oh my God, a Trish Jarvis
so cute.
doll.
Isn't
That
it cute?
is. Wait, can I
Very.
take a screenshot of us with each holding that up?
Yes.
Hold on 1 sec. 1, 2.
Yay!
Okay, that's great. Yeah, what is one thing that you can tell us that I don't know, something crazy from working on this experience that, you wouldn't normally talk about?
Oh, this is funny. When Catherine was staying at a hotel while we were shooting, I set her up at a hotel, so she's like really comfortable and everything. So I pick her up the next day to drive to the shoot, the big Final Girls day, So I pick her up at the hotel, and she comes out and she's like, "Man, what's up with this hotel that you had me stay at?" I'm like, "Why? What's up?" It's like, "Well, I was, I looked behind a curtain by the window, and there was this bag of like sex toys and like gross things, and like, and I'm like, what?" It's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What'd you do? Did you tell the people there?" It's like, "No, it's still there. It's just behind the curtain."
Oh,
I'm
Wow.
like, "Oh my God."
You mean like whoever came in to clean the room before she stayed there just left those toys there?
Yeah, I guess so. Like nobody wanted to touch this bag of sex toys.
I don't
So
blame
I thought that was
I think you
hilarious.
should have worked them into the movie. I don't.
I should. I mean, yeah. Well, no, that would have been very weird for
I'm
the
totally
big
kidding.
Final Girls circle scene. Like all of a sudden, there's just a bag of sex toys laying in the middle of it,
and then it's like
they
victim
just
no more.
start throwing
That's
it at
a
Jason's
twist.
head.
They start hitting it. See, you could have had one in the background that had like a sex toy as a weapon, and like
just don't acknowledge it.
I'm sorry. This
like a
is
big
when
dildo. Like
yes, Bobby. This is when Tim and I go off the rails.
Yeah, so we won't. We'll keep
So
it.
yeah, but look, we really want to thank you not only for your support over the years for the podcast, but for taking the time to do this with us. And like we really are going to try to help you promote this with this episode, and posting the links. And we really wish you the best of luck with this because
congratulations on the film.
we were
It's so
we were really impressed. And it's just like for Friday the 13th fans out there, if you know these movies, you like them. This is just a fun little treat,
That's all I ever keep calling it too. It's a fun little treat, it's a 40-minute romp, like enjoy the story, enjoy it. Look deeply wherever you want to look deeply, like, you guys. But I really hope a lot of people enjoy it. I mean, I know there's going to be haters that hate out there. And some people gave me some criticisms towards it. And it made me smile because it's like, well, you're engaged in a conversation. You're talking bad about a couple of things, but it's making me happy. Like, I don't know why, but it's like,
you did it. You made it.
But you're doing that like Friday 13th fan thing where it's like, oh, we don't like this, but we like this. And, like, it's an engaging conversation for me. So it's like, you're talking about something I made and I just love it, even if it's like negative or positive. I just,
that's a great attitude.
I appreciate all of it.
Well, that is a great attitude to have. And again,
I'm waiting. I know it's going to come too. And I'm waiting for like, oh man, that ending, it's so woke. What's up with that?
Oh,
oh, of course, all these strong women. It's got to be. I'm like,
that was around in the 80s too.
Yeah. It's what every Friday 13th fan has been talking about for 30 years. It's like, this is as close as we can try and get. I mean, hopefully somebody does, hits that message even harder, one day in a big studio movie.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll wait and see. Yeah, fingers crossed is right. Well, thank you again, Bobby. Seriously, thank you so much. And obviously, I don't even have to say, I hope that we'll be in touch because we will be in touch because we've been in touch for the last 2 years. So
enjoy your cool weather.
Yes. Again, we wish you nothing but the best with this. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. I love you guys.
Okay. We love you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Happy Horror Time.
This podcast is hosted by Matt Emmer and myself, Tim Murdoch. It's co-produced by Jacob Randall.
We release episodes every Monday, and each episode is either a review of new horror films or an interview with a horror star or insider. So there's something for everyone.
You can listen to the podcast directly from our website, www.happyhorrortime.com or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you stream.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Happy Horror Time. We always post the movies we're going to review a few days in advance, so if you want, you can watch them before hearing our spoiler-filled reviews.
Mm-hmm. If you'd like to contact us directly, send an email to happyhorrortime@gmail.com.
And to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. Patrons get access to our monthly bonus episodes, our newsletter, autograph stickers, and get to vote in polls to pick the movies we're going to review. Best of all, if we get to 50 patrons, we're going to start releasing 2 bonus episodes per month versus 1. So tell a friend.
Yeah, I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert, and we hope you have a happy horror time.